It's clearly a generational thing. My generation grew up watching Walter Cronkite and Huntley and Brinkley and all these folks. And one of the things that I saw in your bio was that you got interested in this field because of Barbara Walters. So what happens now to the Barbara Walters? I mean, where does news reporting go? Will the nightly news be a thing of the past? And are we simply going to continue to retreat to those mediums that demonstrate that we know everything already? Where's this going to go now?
Well, let me just note, I loved Barbara Walters on ABC's 2020. So I remember as a kid, like getting super excited after TGIF was over because ABC's 2020 would be on. And I was like fascinated by the fact that this woman was getting paid to talk to these incredibly interesting people from around the world. And I was just fascinated by the conversations. That's how I got interested in journalism and the media. But I just feel like the type of conversations that she had, or just news about world events, they don't seem to attract the kind of attention that they used to. And it might be because of an oversaturated market. It might be because conflict tends to sell. Manufactured conflicts tend to sell. But I wish we can get back to a place where journalism still really existed, where there was like ethical standards that were, that reporters abided by, anchors abided by. I wish there was a clear distinction between opinion and actual hard news journalism. This is what I talk about with my journalism students whenever I have the time to teach. I always tell them, I'm like, look, there's a difference between what I do, which is analysis, opinion, and what you should be doing as an investigative journalist, for instance. Going out there and actually gathering the news, talking to both sides, not equating both sides and acting as if you're completely neutral, but making sure that you gather the facts on the ground and report them as they are. It's really hard to find that these days. There's still great journalism taking place. I wouldn't be able to do my analysis or my job without that great journalism taking place. But these are the people who are oftentimes not paid well, ignored, and don't get any of the benefits that someone might in the media if you engage in the conflict nonsense.
Can we go back, Ben, and separate the fact?
So basically, I agree here with what Ana is saying. Absolutely. She said one of her idols at the time, Barbara Walters, as she was growing up watching her, wanted to be like her, just absolutely, like she said, just amazed that here's this lady talking to people, making money and talking to these great figures in history and whatever. But the thing that we go back to is that, clicks sell. Conflict sells. I mean, even for our channel, if you take a look at the number of views, when you start just doing a piece on, like I did, we had a video about DeSantis and, what he basically was doing in terms of breaking up, Disney's, I guess, kingdom down in Florida. I thought that was a great piece, interesting, talks about what's happening with Disney, what's happening with Ron DeSantis, how they're, curtailing the power, taking the power away from Disney, bringing it back to the people. You know what? People, they click on it, they look at it, whatever. Then you do a little piece, then you do a piece on here, Ana versus Ben, debate part 2 or 3, and you get, hundreds or thousands of views on there, and you're like, okay, because obviously there's some more interest in this than there is, in that story. So that's just the way it goes, Sensationalism has always sold. There's nothing new about that. So as I said before, let's see what Ben has to talk about in his sort of rebuttal to this.
Based from the opinion now, or is it going to be conflated for the foreseeable future?
I mean, I think the truth is that was a relatively modern construct. I mean, if you go back to the foundations of the Republic, the people who were reporting were also doing opinion, and that was true all the way through the beginning of the 20th century. It was really only with Walter Lippmann in the 1920s that you start talking about objective standards in journalism. And there's a difference between an objective standard that you apply to how a story is reported and being an objective reporter, meaning you have no politics at all. And I think, frankly, if you want to reinstall some sort of institutional trust, it would be good for reporters to say, here here's who I voted for, and then here are also the facts that I am reporting on, because otherwise it ends up being a gotcha, right? I see how you're reporting that. I see what you're doing. I know what you really think about this story. So that's a major issue. I think the other big issue, obviously, I mentioned gatekeepers before. I'm very wary of the reinstallation of institutional gatekeepers, because if you want to talk about market incentives, the big players have all the incentives to ensure that they are the ones who maintain their access via the gates. And this is one of my great fears with some sites that we've been very successful with, like Facebook, is that reestablishing the idea that there are quote-unquote trusted news sources, and those all coincidentally are legacy media sources, means that everybody who's not a legacy media source, somebody who started up a company in the last 10 years, right? We opened our doors in 2015. We're not legacy media. And so we don't have that legacy. So now you're shutting out all the players who are actually entering the market.
So you actually mentioned, again, just a little bit of a shift because you got my attention earlier. You're both born and raised in California.
So basically, again, Ben just laid it out in terms of, what he thought, that legacy media, if they're going to be the gatekeepers, if they're going to be the ones that decide, who gets to be put under the, the label of legacy, well, they're the ones that are already in control. They're the ones that are already in control of the power, already in control of who gets in, who gets out. They're the ones that, are the major power players right now. And, people like just getting on YouTube right now, starting off a YouTube channel, starting off the Daily Wire, as Ben was saying, getting, trying to, get your feet solid, okay, in the journalistic world. Well, where are they going to be? So, as you said, distrustful of the of the legacy media is absolutely, something that all of us want to be, aware of, regardless of whether, like I said, it's, Fox or CNBC or CNN or MSNBC. We need to have it open and wide for everybody, and then let people decide where they're going to put their dollars to, where they're going to put their time invested in viewing, where they're going to, where they're going to gravitate to. Let the people decide. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch this debate, part 4 between Ana Kasparian and Ben Shapiro. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell. Comment below. Let me know what you think. I thought it was a draw in part 4. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.